Good evening, and welcome to the St. Petersburg by Night podcasting network. Tonight, we present to you our Werewolf the Apocalypse Chronicle, Rage Across Tampa.
Welcome everyone back to the St. Pete by Night Twitch stream where we play St. Petersburg by Night, a massive multiplayer World of Darkness 5th edition chronicle set in St. Petersburg and Tampa, Florida. This is episode 3 of Rage Across Tampa, entitled Mongols. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete by Night and the leader of tonight's chronicle. Go check us out on all social media, St. Pete by Night. We are on Twitter, also known as X. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. But you can also find us at stpetebynight.com, our home website, where we have a threat tracker. We have storyteller profiles. We have game profiles. You can find out all the information you need to know about St. Pete by Night over on that website. It is our pride and joy, and our webmaster is possibly a deity amongst men. We're not entirely sure yet. So before we get into tonight's story, I thought we'd take a moment really quickly and discuss the Chronicle tenets. Now, for those who do not know what Chronicle tenets are, these are the rules, so to speak, that the players/characters are abiding by as a group. So for a coterie in Vampire, these tenets would affect the humanity of the group as a whole. In Werewolf, it's a little different. This is the rules that they have agreed to follow to not succumb to Hoglosk or Hirano. So the tenets of this particular group are, number 1, loyalty to the pack above all else. Number 2, leave a place better than you found it. And number 3, do not hoard resources. So with tenets, there are challenges, because for Guru, their existence is a delicate balance that they have to walk between succumbing to the feral rage that consumes them inside by avoiding giving themselves over entirely to the monsters they've become, while also trying to maintain connections to the real world. The world that they left behind when they changed. It's a difficult thing to maintain any kind of sense of normalcy, but the Guru do their best, or at least most do, trying to maintain connections with friends and family, trying to keep jobs, trying to keep their life as they know it. Others tend to retreat from it altogether. When they find what they are and they find their purpose and their mission, they give themselves entirely to that purpose, entirely to that mission, sometimes to the point that they lose any sense of self, and all there is the fight. Last time we saw this pack, they went to the house of Eliza Ross, a stargazer who had fallen from the path, who had given up on everything that it is to be Garou, and possibly even everything it is to be human, having succumbed to the state of Hirano fully and entirely after the massacre and the abandonment of Tampa at the hands of the Garou Nation. Now, being a stargazer, she was already considered an outcast, a turncoat. Her tribe had decided to depart the Garou Nation and forge their own path, but Eliza is an exception to all of that. She is one who doesn't even stand with her tribe anymore. She doesn't stand with anything that it is to be Garou. After meeting with her, at the recommendation of the spirits to seek out help in restoring the cairns of Tampa, they found that they had quite a challenge ahead of them in returning Eliza to the path. Some took that on as a personal mission to try and bring her back into the fold, while others might not be so sure. When departing Eliza's, they found a business card upon Artie's Jeep that mentioned a motorcycle club known as the Mongols over on the east side of Tampa, with a ominous message on the back that said, "Some of us still fight." But before we go to visit the Mongols and follow up on that mission, certain activities have taken place in the week since. Having left Eliza's and gone back about their separate ways, our Garou individually took tasks upon themselves to further their goals. We start now with Aiden, who we find accompanied by Artie outside in the woods in the park surrounding Aspen's trailer. They are both in lupus form, Aiden taking the form of a massive, hulking wolf, whereas Artie looks a little bit more like a mutt of sorts, not taking on the more lupine and feral features, but more looking like a street dog with his sandy blonde-colored hair matted in various parts along his head and back, twisted in certain sections, seemingly sticky in others, but very much looking like a dog that had been living most of its life on the streets. As the two of you stalk through the forest late one evening, looking through the undergrowth, Artie kind of trailing behind, following Aiden and really paying more attention to his survival instincts, as Artie is more of a city dog than a out in the woods kind of hunting for survival type. He tends to follow your lead. So as you get to yourself and back into your true self, into your surroundings, go ahead and roll me a wits and survival as you try to get the scent or the track of a rabbit or other quarry nearby in the park.
4.
4 successes. This is like being back home, out west. As you catch the scent almost immediately, you know you've found something particularly special on this evening, where you're used to catching squirrels and rats, maybe a few birds and other smaller game. You know this scent better than the others. This is a deer, and it is not that far away.
He'll kind of look back to where Artie's standing and just kind of like almost turn his head and point and then start stalking towards the scent.
Artie, almost like an excited puppy at the notion, kind of lets his jaw drop open and his tongue like loll out as he gets down and hunches really low and starts scurrying off into the underbrush, kind of almost instinctually going in a surrounding motion, allowing you to take one side and him to take the other, preparing to circle the prey. Go ahead and roll me a dexterity and stealth check. Now, while you are in your lupus form, you get a +2 to your stealth roll, especially in this environment.
Okay. That's another 4.
4 successes. Okay. So again, this comes second nature to you as you stalk into the undergrowth, making your way along, finding the more hidden paths, trying to stay out of sight to the best of your ability. You start to close in on that scent, following it very, very carefully. Go ahead and roll me a wits and awareness now as you feel the scent growing stronger and fresher, knowing that you are closing in on your prey.
That's 3.
3 successes. Okay, you have eyes on your quarry. As you get closer to the river, you see a rather large buck, points and all, drinking from the stream, seemingly unaware of your presence as you make your approach. Right now, though, you can't seem to detect any sign of Artie. You can't tell how close he is or whether he has gotten into the proper position, but you know that the deer hasn't spotted you yet.
Yeah. Right now, he's not too concerned about Artie. He had had a large animal to hunt for a long time, so he's going to just take the opportunity, and he's going to stalk forward and get as close as he can, and then lunge towards the throat of the buck.
Okay. So as you approach, getting closer, sneaking your way until you're in a perfect pounce position, go ahead and make me a strength and brawl check as you lunge towards the beast, preparing to tackle them and bring them down to the ground.
Seven successes.
7 successes. So almost like lightning out of the underbrush, you lunge, going into a full pounce, claws extended, jaws agape, teeth going directly for the neck of the beast, and you, without any difficulty at all, make contact, slamming into the side of the buck, sending it stumbling, your jaws clenching around the throat of the animal, the loud kind of squawk or cry of the deer coming out as it is completely caught off guard. Almost immediately, it starts thrashing and trying to get out of your grasp, sending clubbing hooves towards you. How would you like to respond? Do you want to hold on or try to dodge out of the way, trying to prepare for another attack on it?
Gonna take the hit, but he's going to try and flip the deer onto its side, so that way he's more on top of it, and then try and bear down.
Okay, so go ahead and give me another strength and brawl check. This is going to be an opposing check with the deer to see if the deer can free itself and possibly harm you in the process, or if you are going to bear down on it.
Okay. That was 5.
Okay, the deer only got 2 successes. So, with the strength of your jaws and your size and your claws wrenching into the side of the beast, you manage to keep hold of it and avoid its clubbing hooves that are coming in your general direction. At this point, from the other side of the tree line, Artie comes darting out full tilt, going for the back legs of the deer to try and assist and knock out the rear hindquarters of it to help it topple over. Let's see how he does. Okay, 4 successes. So Artie just crashes into the back of the deer, taking out the back of its legs. He kind of sideswipes, using his full body weight from the side to kind of crush in to the hindquarters of the deer, sending it toppling over to the ground. You have it pinned currently, but it is still struggling and fighting to try and get itself free. But you can feel that hot, warm blood kind of going into your mouth, which is causing your hunger and your fury to go up. You may take a point of rage as this is appealing to the beast inside of you. Go ahead and make one more strength and brawl check to see if you can finish the job on this deer.
I'll take it. 6 with a messy.
Okay, so there aren't messy criticals in
Cool.
in Werewolf, so you are okay.
Sweet.
But
All right.
6 successes, you kind of keeping your jaws locked on, using your back claws to kind of rake at its underbelly, trying to really rip into its torso. You manage to just jerk your head in a sudden motion to one side, still keeping your jaws around, and you hear kind of a sickening wet snap of the neck of the deer, and you can feel it twitch a little bit, but eventually stop struggling, going limp under your massive body weight and your jaws locked in. It doesn't take long for you and Artie both to make a meal of this particular quarry. It is a rather large buck, so it does take some tearing and rending to get to the meat, but after probably 15-20 minutes, you find yourself covered in gore, especially around the mouth and paws, but you feel your belly is full, comfortably full, and that northern wind calling that demands a certain sacrifice seems to be appeased on this particular day. Artie has been a little bit more delicate about his eating. You can see he's kind of like picking at it and taking small mouthfuls of the meat, but you could kind of tell by his motions that he's struggling eating the raw food, which doesn't seem to be his particular palate. He gets to like a certain point where he gets into more the intestinal area, and you can see him almost like recoil as the smell of, well, I think we all know, starts to leak out of the intestines, and he just kind of backs off ever so slightly, giving a small whimpering sound. But after you're done eating, Artie kind of slowly transforms back into his Hamid form, the blood still on his face, naked as the day he was born. You do this every day?
Aiden will turn back into his Hamid form and yeah, something that gotta do. I haven't had a deer for a bit though, so that's pretty great. Other than teeth going back weird and things get stuck all the time.
I thought I wasn't a fan of venison before, but this takes it to a whole new level. That was cooked. You don't get sick, like in your stomach, or, you know, when you have to toozy?
No, Toozy?
Oh, yeah, okay. So, you know when you're... Okay, I don't know if you use the restroom in this form, but we call it one and twosies, going number one, going number two. Two is the backdoor waste.
Oh, you talking about the bathroom thing, the big bowl that you're not supposed to drink out of.
Correct. Yeah, that's the
Gotcha.
one.
Yeah. No. When going to Tuesday, I no. It everything comes out just fine.
Oh, good. So, and he kind of reaches up and starts wiping off his face and kind of starts making his way back towards the RV. How'd you meet Aspen?
That's an interesting question. I more stumbled upon her. You know how you and I met? You were trying to take my cheeseburger.
Listen, I was there first.
It was mine.
Not an argument worth having. It was yours, yes. I just was getting it prepared for you. You know, rappers and stuff didn't want you to choke.
I appreciate that. Yeah, rappers have always been a bit difficult. I don't get why everything has to be covered. Anyways, I was at in Boise and was looking around, and I found this really big dumpster over by what the big taller buildings.
Dumpsters are good eating.
They are. So I figured I'd go over there. As I was making my way through, I was interrupted by Aspen. She was throwing something away, and I didn't want to scare her any further, so then I left.
She doesn't... I don't know if she gets it.
Gets what?
All of this.
Well,
she seems to be... Well, yeah, but she seems hesitant. What's that about?
I thought that was a human thing. Aren't you guys all kind of like not willing to jump 2 back feet in at once?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, it took getting used to, but I don't know, something about being able to be better, more, having a purpose, you know, that's kind of cool. And you got this like divine save the world purpose. I don't know. I took to it a lot easier than others, I guess, but
I think her biggest thing is that from the other ones like us, the life previously wasn't too grand, where Aspen didn't really have too many issues from what I could tell. Lived in one of the big buildings, had her own personal dumpster. Looks like had it pretty well. Some of us others didn't have that kind of stuff. So being thrown into something that you are not ready for can be hard to understand and get into and learn that there's a whole other side of this world that had been hidden, and now you're a big part of that world that you was hidden in the shadows. I feel like that would be a lot to take in. Where mine, the wolf part, I already had that figured out. Now being this human stuff hard.
I guess it is a little bit more complicated. I mean, the concept's still the same: shelter, food, you know, companionship, a community. That's all kind of the same. But yeah, there's a lot more talking and gadgets, tools.
Yeah, the phones, this black thing that everyone's so engrossed in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I guess you'd use like howls? Is that kind of how it did that you communicate from like further distances?
Yeah, it was mostly howls. There's also markings we do, the onesies.
Yeah, okay, yeah, like I get a certain smell being like, oh, someone else has been here.
Yeah, so that would let others know, like, hey, there's something here, or there's something went by, we need to cover this. Or we'd let each other know, like, hey, danger's incoming, howl, or hey, there's something coming on, little bark, huff, things along those lines.
So why do you stick with her? I mean, now, obviously, but like, seems like you've been with her for a while.
It's hard to say, because there are times where, you know, pups are annoying and you just kind of want to shoo them off. But there's that, I have this overall sense of that she needs me to help with different things. She may snap at me a couple times throughout the day, but I feel like it's out of a place that she is trying to communicate, and there's that wall there. And she can show me how, she's taught me already so much about how to be human, and I'm here if she needs help with that. And with her being a pup and me finding her, there is that sense that I need to stick around. And I've had strange dreams and stuff, and I need to talk to someone who could understand that. But I feel like it has to do with her, but I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not the one to tell you about dreams. I've had some pretty fucked dreams myself recently, but Joseph seems like he's into that sort of thing. So maybe.
Yeah, he's an how do you guys say he's a unique individual, I think is the way that it's said.
Unique, you know what? Yes, unique individual. But he gets it.
No,
I feel
yes,
like
absolutely.
better than most. He knew it. From what I can tell, he knew it before he became it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, then no, it's fair.
Hmm.
But yeah, what have you been up to? It's been two years?
Oh, surviving, really. I mean, I didn't really know where to go or what to do. For the first little bit, I mean, even before we met, I didn't have anyone else to go to. When I first changed, there were other guru around that kind of helped me and mentored me and taught me, and then they were just gone. And I couldn't leave. I mean, this is my home. This is my place. Where was I gonna go? You know?
I understand that.
And so yeah, I've just been, I guess, unintentionally keeping the area warm for someone to come back and help me reclaim it. And here we are.
Yeah, this place, coming down here, once we got here, it feels different than out west. Out west is connected almost, and this, if darkness could feel that, this is kind of what I would say it feels like. I don't understand why there's this break.
A lot's happened here. There's been a lot of violence and a lot of, I mean, this place has forgotten where it came from. You know, when cities are built, and some are important, some are necessary in their own right. I mean, humans have to evolve too, but this place, it's an entirely different animal. It's something dirty, something decaying. I try to do the best I can in the ways I can to appease the spirits, I guess, of the Weaver, but even the Weaver, I feel, is overwhelmed here. Like, it's almost too much development, too fast, and it's not done well. Like, it's like it's like an animal that can't stop eating even after it's full. It just is always hungry for more. And
yeah,
I think that has a lot to do with the leeches, honestly, that are running the place. I think they're driving something. There's so many of them, and they feed on stuff like this. They feed on the depravity and the desolation and the decay. They like to keep their food desperate.
Well, these leeches, there was that one that the cranky lady was talking about that she seemed afraid of. I've never even heard of these things. They were never brought up to me. Have you dealt with leeches? Are they something that we should just try and avoid?
I don't know if there's
Like
something we can avoid. I mean, I've managed to avoid them, but I was just one. I was on my own, and I didn't really get taught on how to handle them. I never had to. I was just kind of told to avoid them, but I was also coming in at the tail end of the fight, and it seemed like it was a fight we were losing. So, while the others were encouraging those of us that were left to run and to flee, I didn't want to fight, but I also didn't want to leave. So I really wasn't sure what to do. But from what I can tell, as long as you kind of stay away after dark, like the stories say, you can tend to avoid them. But I think we're past the point of avoiding them. I think now we have to do something. I just don't know what the 5 of us are gonna do. We don't even have a cairn. Like, we're kind of not even an island, I would say, like a shipwreck in this area. And we have to find some way to get better connected to whatever assistance we can get.
I think we can do it. I think we got a strong pack. I don't think there's anything that if we put our minds to, I think we can push through and get it. What are a couple leeches going to do to some of us? Like, there's that one, but it's one person.
I guess that's what we're going to find out, isn't it?
Yeah, sounds fun.
With that, you spend the rest of the evening kind of digesting your meal and relaxing. We're going to transition to the next day. It is probably around 10 a.m. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, far away from nature, deep in the bowels of the downtown area, we find ourselves at a rather humble law office, as opposed to the towering multi-floored skyscrapers of other more prestigious law firms. We find ourselves at Hart and Associates, a small law firm that is set up in a otherwise typical business building with other corporations kind of surrounding on the floors above and below. Hart and Associates has some back offices just out the elevator of the 3rd floor of one of these downtown buildings that are modest in comparison to some of the taller structures around it. Inside, we find ourselves in the offices of Rachel Hart, the lead partner of this particular law office. Rachel is a youngish woman in probably her late 20s, early 30s, with an olive-toned skin and long, almost luxurious, dark black hair that hangs down to her shoulders. She's dressed in a plain, kind of neutral-toned business suit, sitting behind her desk with Aspen sitting across on the other side. Aspen, go ahead and describe what you're wearing.
Aspen has her hair pulled out back in a slick bun. She's wearing a navy blue blazer to match the navy blue pencil skirt that she's wearing, with just a regular white button up underneath. And she has sensible, just plain black pumps, nothing too fancy, but definitely to fit the environment she's in.
Rachel's kind of tapping away at a laptop and looks over to you. Do you have those briefs from the Eisenberg case?
Oh, yes, sorry. She'll just kind of ruffle with some things. And she kind of has this like faraway look for a moment, just kind of processing a bunch of things, and gets back into the present and hands some things over.
You okay?
Yeah, it's just been it's been a strange couple of weeks. Nothing too crazy, just strange.
Nothing I need to be worried about?
No. It's just meeting new people, getting bearings in certain areas, and interesting new people is all.
Yeah, how are you settling in? I know it's been a few months now. It can be a big adjustment coming out this way.
Yeah, it's been great. I've really enjoyed having the seclusion, but also being close enough to come here and help you out and do what I have to do here. So it's been really nice. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm really glad you took me up on the offer. It's been, I don't know, nice being around you again. Kind of feels like college.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get wrapped up in all the business here that you kind of forget what it is to have fun. Speaking of which, we still got to go get a drink one of these nights.
Oh, that would be so great. Getting some normalcy. Again, strange couple of weeks. So getting some normalcy would be absolutely wonderful. Just being here is the mundane I need.
She kind of giggles slightly and goes back to typing for a moment, and then she goes, and sent. So, there was something you wanted to talk about. She kind of takes the files that are stacked up in front of her and shuffles them to the side, and then puts her hands on her desk, kind of folds them in front of her. What's up?
Yes. So I was talking to an acquaintance of mine, and she had brought an issue regarding Bateman and Co. and all of them. I know how much you love them.
You can kind of see her slightly stiffen a little bit at the mention of Ballard, Anderson, and Bateman, the premier firm of downtown Tampa. Okay. Yeah, what about them?
Well, she has a particular strong following on social media. I don't know if you've heard of Malicious Jester at all. Environmental activist, big in social media.
I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but yeah, go on. Okay.
Well, she's been looking into some things and speaking out about some things, and they've caught wind, and they are now threatening her that if she doesn't stop, there will be consequences.
Well, I mean, she should be protected by free speech. There shouldn't be any legal issues here. I don't know what they could potentially do, but what do you think their intention is?
At the very least, to bury her, to keep things secret that probably should not be secret and should be out in the public to be fixed. I know that there's not a huge case to be had here as of yet, but I wanted, with your permission, to look into it and maybe use you as a face if it gets that far.
She kind of pensively pauses for a few moments, kind of considering, kind of chewing on the corner of her lower lip a little bit. Have they threatened her?
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it was kind of quit doing what you're doing or we're getting involved. And it didn't sound nice from the way she relayed it to me.
And this is important?
I would say so. She's helped me a few times. Back when we were working on the toxic dump in the bay.
Yeah.
We had correspondence during that time, and she was a big help.
Okay. Sounds like we owe her one. Yeah, of course. Anything I can do to help. You've helped me so much in the past, and I owe you, obviously, and we're a team here. If you think this is a fight worth having, I will back you, and I will support you in any way I can. I have to tell you, though, this is a big one. This is... Ballard, Anderson, and Bateman are not... They're no small fish. We're going after a whale, if this is the case. So we need to be very careful and very smart about how we do this. If nothing else, we just need to get them to go away, but not engage with them if possible. But I trust you to do what's right and do what's best, and if there's anything I can do, let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be doing the heavy lifting. You don't have to do much. I'll make sure I take lead and get as much done as I can. I mostly just need you there to be the face of the operation if it does go that far. And with those guys, they like to push the envelope, so.
That they do, and they have the bankroll to do it. If we even had a third of the money they have, we could be doing so much good. But yes, of course. And you can kind of see her resolve embolden a little bit. Yeah, it's the right thing to do. It's why we got into this. Okay, if you think it's worth it, you have my full support.
This is why you're the best.
She kind of smirks at that a little bit and goes back to kind of pensively, again, still typing at her keyboard and pausing every few moments to kind of get a far off look in her eye, but then goes back to typing furiously. We transition again to later in the afternoon on the same day, where Jester and her boyfriend Leon arrive in Leon's car in the same trailer park she had visited a few days earlier. Now, Jester, you've made a few trips to this particular trailer park over the last several days, coming by in the mornings to deliver breakfast and a fresh case of beer to Eliza coming to her trailer. On more than one occasion, in fact, in almost every occasion, the door hasn't even been locked when you arrived. Just seeming like an open, anyone could enter situation that she didn't even mind or care to lock the door. Based off of the time you arrive, considering it's breakfast time around 8 or 9 in the morning, you can hear Eliza sleeping in the back, not even crossing paths with you on any of your visits so far. But you've done the right thing, and when you come back the next day, you can find that the food that you have brought has been consumed and that the containers are awaiting you. Not washed, not cleaned, not in any way tended to, but they seem to be sitting on the messy countertop of the trailer when you arrived the next day, completely consumed. So on this particular afternoon when you arrive, you can see that Eliza's not home. Probably at the casino or off shopping, maybe, but she doesn't seem to be there when you arrive. And Leon kind of looks around at the trailer park. You've been coming here every day?
Yes. An acquaintance of mine, a friend, told me that she used to be deeper in the fight for our planet, but she lost her way. Besides, look at this yard. After seeing it, do you think I could just leave this like this? I mean, what if a storm came by and just blew this all over the place?
I am not even the slightest bit convinced that this is an environmentalist's house. I mean, look at the stack of beer cans.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm here for you in any way I can be.
I know.
So, well, I brought the lawnmower. You want me to start, I guess, mowing on the side here? I mean, what?
Yeah, I've cleaned up this part, so definitely need to start mowing on that side. And then I'll start cleaning up over on this side.
Okay, well, I can't break the mower. I borrowed it from Steven, and he will be furious if I break this mower.
Well, let me do a once over on this side then, and make sure that there's nothing that could break it.
Okay. And he kind of gets out of the car, giving you a wink before he kind of moves around back and opens the trunk and starts unloading this kind of push mower that looks like it was bought the cheapest mower from a Home Depot, probably like $150, and it already looks like it's seen some wear and tear. As you make your way around the side of the trailer, go ahead and give me a wits and awareness as you kind of try to get a look over the area to see if you can find the condition or see if there's anything that might be potentially harmful.
3 successes.
3 successes. So initially looking over the area, you don't see anything that stands out that looks like it could be particularly problematic. Maybe there's a few pieces of trash that are within easy reach if you were to gather them up and kind of get them out of the way. But mostly this is just high grass and weeds and will likely need quite a couple passes, let's just put it that way, with the mower to really get the debris down.
Okay. I think we're good to go. I'll pick up a few pieces of the trash so it doesn't get caught in the blades.
So as you reach down to grab the trash, something from the ground springs up and grabs your wrist. As you look to see what's grabbing at your wrist, you don't see anything, but you feel these kind of like bony, almost like clawed fingers wrapped around your wrist, jerking it towards the earth, trying to keep you from lifting just what looks to be a cardboard box from perhaps a microwavable meal that was discarded. You can feel something kind of clawing at your hand, trying to keep you from pulling back from the ground. What would you like to do?
This has to be what Ash Speaker talks about. I am going to, out of reflex, just yank my hand back with the trash.
Okay, go ahead and give me a strength and athletics.
Three successes.
Okay. So you are able to wrench your hand free from whatever seems to be grasping at it, but you feel the claws of this particular force rip at the flesh around your wrist, taking 2 points of superficial damage as it just seems to scratch in a deep, embedded scratch along your arm, leaving a slightly oozing, bloody trail along one of the nail marks on the top of your arm. You kind of jerk back in startled alarm, maybe even letting out a slight wince as it cuts, causing Leon to kind of come running around. Is everything all right? You okay?
I'll hide my arm. Fine. I tripped and cut myself on something. I'm okay. I'm just gonna go get a bandage.
Go ahead and give me a manipulation and subterfuge.
Three successes.
Okay. Well, just be careful. There could be needles or exposed rusty steel out here. We don't need to take you to the hospital for a tetanus shot. I don't think our insurance will cover that.
Yeah, it's not too deep. I'll be fine. You should be careful too, though.
Yeah, okay. And you can go back to the car and you see him getting out some work gloves that he's putting on as he assembles the mower, kind of extending the handle and starting it up, and makes his way around the side. The mower is loud. You can definitely hear it kind of echoing off the side of the aluminum-sided trailer in a cacophony of noise as he starts making his way along. Every now and then you can hear it catch on something and, like, him kind of curse a little bit as he backs up and tries again to get through a particularly dense patch of weeds. What would you like to do while he's mowing?
Does he have a little traveling first like a med kit in his?
Most definitely. Okay. Yeah, he's gone on enough picketing or protesting excursions to know that when things get a little bit rough, sometimes people need patching up, and he's right there with the med kit to help patch up.
Okay. Cool. I will wrap up my arm. Hopefully get like a little blood showing on the bandage at least, but I'm going to at least try to heal one point.
Okay. So as you kind of wrap up the bandage around, it's going to take a little bit. Being in your Hamid form, you don't have the natural regenerative powers that you would in your other forms, but you know that this should probably be patched up by the next day without any difficulty. Go ahead and roll me a wits and awareness as you're kind of busy by the trunk of the car, wrapping your arm up.
One success.
Okay. So it takes you a minute, but you kind of get this feeling that you're being watched. And as you go to look, you find in the trailer itself that the curtains, which are dirty and yellowed, they were probably white satin curtains at one point. They're dirtied and yellowed. For the first time in the last few days that you've been here, they are open. And you can see Eliza kind of standing there, watching you with this, like, cranky, dour expression on her face, just the wrinkles creasing her exterior, but she doesn't, it's hard to tell what her expression is. She's always kind of set into a scowl in all the times, or in the time that you have encountered her, but she's watching. And go ahead and give me a wits and insight.
Three successes.
As you try to kind of explore her gaze, trying to kind of examine her features, you don't feel anything behind her eyes, behind her visage. She just seems to be staring through you, past you, into nothingness. It's almost scary in a slight way. Everybody has some sort of emotion, even if it's muted, even if it's minute, even if it's held back. She feels like nothing. There's just nothing there. The scowl itself just seems like a facade covering an emptiness beneath it. For a moment, you kind of look away from this empty, dead gaze, and when you hesitantly look back, the curtains are closed.
I'll grab the beer and breakfast tacos out of the car and head into the house.
Okay. Going up to the door, the squeaky floorboards of the porch, avoiding that broken step at the bottom, making sure not to trip. You get to the front door, standing over the go-away welcome mat that is placed in front of the door. You try the handle and it opens. The door kind of squeaks as it opens.
Eliza, I brought breakfast.
There's no response. Your words kind of echoing off the dingy, cluttered interior of the trailer.
It's only been 2 days. It's only been a few days. I'll set it in the usual spot that I leave it before.
Okay. As you make your way in, go ahead and give me one more wits and awareness.
3 successes again.
From the back hallway, you hear the soft, heavy breathing with a little slight twinge of a snore coming from the back room.
Did she go to sleep that fast? This is weird.
You set aside the meal you've brought, putting the case of beer in the broken fridge, which does no purpose of cooling the beverages. It's more a cabinet now than anything, but it's habitual, and it seems to be the way she likes things. You clean up the cardboard box from the case of beer, grabbing a few of the discarded bottles and cans that are scattered on the counter and putting them into a bag, preparing to take them into a recycling plant later that day. And the wrongness kind of follows you out of the trailer as you make your way out. It feels corrupt on this particular visit, which it has not on previous visits. Whereas it felt lonely, empty, lost, this time it feels incredibly wrong. You stay with Leon as he finishes mowing the side yard and kind of proceeds around the back a little bit, getting some more of the weeds. But it takes some time. You're probably there for 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And you've maybe gotten about half of it done.
It's progress.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come back tomorrow, Leon says as he kind of wipes his forehead, and you can see that he is sweaty, he is dirty, there is sand and dust and kind of green debris covering the front of his clothing, but he wore his work clothes, which you know are also his painting clothes. You could see the splotches of different colors along the sleeves and handprints on the front of his jeans as if he'd wiped paint off of his hands. When he's deep at work, he gets into it, and he is not afraid to get his fingers in the paint and use them to spread. And it's charming, but with this kind of gross detritus all over it, it almost looks dirty. It doesn't look as charming and handsome and pleasant as it is when he's in his studio. It looks like he has decay all over him.
You know I appreciate this, right?
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate you.
Anything for you.
We should get you cleaned up.
Oh. And he kind of gets a coy smile. You willing to help me with that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And he kind of just goes skipping off towards the car with a little jaunt in his step, quickly packing up the mower and then just eventually giving up and shoving it in and throwing the trunk closed. Let's go! And he runs towards the front seat and hops in the car.
I'll spare one last glance to the yard, especially where I was grabbed. And then head to the car.
It looks like it's been maintained. For the first time in a while, it looks cleaner. But it still feels off. As if something else in you sees something that isn't there.
I don't think that's good.
You get in the car?
Yeah.
You head home? And you have a very pleasant evening, to say the very least. It takes a while to get the muck off, but Leon doesn't seem to have a problem with that. Transitioning again to the next day. It is a bright and early morning around 9 a.m. And Joseph, you find yourself outside the memorial cemetery that you had just been a few days prior, about a week ago, with your harrowing encounter with Grandmother Willow. However, on this particular day, you're not alone. There is a van with Boy Scout Troop 781 and with the emblazoned logo of the scouting troop on the side of the van, and several scouts dressed in what look to be casual uniforms, just a t-shirt with the Boy Scout logo and the print on it, and shorts and sneakers, and it seems like they've all got garbage bags and what look to be sticks with perhaps a nail embedded in the end, or a pokey object meant for picking up trash along the side of the highway. And the scoutmaster, who is probably a man in his mid-40s, with thinning hair atop his head. He also wears a matching t-shirt as the rest of the troop. He says, "So, Mr. Ashspeaker, you said this particular location needed help."
Yeah, thank you for coming. I was here visiting some family, and I noticed that it was just particularly messy, and I've seen before you guys have come over on Memorial Days and things and done some cleanup. And I'm from up north, but back in the day when I was in Scouts, I did the same thing. I'd come out and clean up when needed, so I figured I'd give you guys a call and see if you could help us out.
Absolutely. We'd be happy to. Is there a particular area that needs special attention, or?
Honestly, whatever we can do. I mean, we got an afternoon, however long your scouts can stay. It'd be great to just do whatever we can while we're here.
Sure. We heard him, boys. Let's go. Make sure to clean up as best as you can. Pay attention to the grave markers. Don't go stepping on anybody's graves. And Tommy, I'm keeping my eyes on you. I know you like to take your little etchings on the gravestones. Don't think I don't know, but you can't spell butt with 3 different gravestones again, okay? Yes, Mr. Thompson. But you can hear the rustling of papers and chalk going into his plastic bag as he prepares to head into the cemetery. And the troop gathers up all their supplies and heads in. Do you follow them?
Yes, I will. I'll follow a little behind, and I'll reach in my pocket after they get a little ways in. I reach my pocket and pull out a small bundle of rosemary, burn a little rosemary at the front gate, and then grab a garbage bag and go clean up.
Okay. So everyone's kind of fanning out. Some of the boys are going off in pairs of 2. Others are just going off by themselves and kind of wandering off into the graveyard, picking up the debris, using their stakes to kind of pick at the trash and put it into the trash bags. And you kind of wander off off in a different direction, kind of trying to stay towards the perimeter, staying as close to the walls surrounding so that you don't get too close.
Exactly.
As you're making your way in, go ahead and give me a composure and resolve check.
It's 3 successes.
3 successes. It's faint, but you swear on the wind, the slight breeze that kind of comes through the cemetery. You hear kind of a raspy, dry, almost like the crackling of dried bark peeling off of a tree. You think this is enough?
Not nearly, but it's a start.
As you were kind of making your way around, picking up the trash, you go to Do you use your hands or do you use one of the sticks? They probably would have provided you with a stick
I'll
and
use
a
a
trash
stick.
bag. Okay. You stab into the ground, going for a piece of trash with one of the sticks, and the stick plunges into the ground. Like, deeper than it should. It stabs through the trash and sinks to the earth below until it gets almost up to your hand. Now, these sticks are usually 3 feet long at the very least. It goes down about 2 feet. As you can see, the earth kind of crumble beneath it in what looks to be almost like a miniature sinkhole. Now, fortunately, you're not near any of the graves. This seems to be trash that had blown in off the nearby street and kind of bypassed the fence and was kind of caught on the fence itself. But you can feel it just sink solidly, leaving almost like a small concave divot behind.
I'll probably be picking myself up a little bit. Going that deep, and I would have stumbled forward. So I'll slowly pick myself up, and I'll look around for like any leaves or other natural detritus that I could maybe fill the hole in with, just so it's not a tripping hazard.
Sure, go ahead and give me a wits and investigation as you're looking around for something very specific and not a general kind of gaze.
Two successes.
2 successes. So, kind of scouring the area. It takes a little bit of time. We don't have as much leaves falling in this area, but you do find a couple of kind of toppled over palm fronds, as well as some of the larger leaves from some of the more invasive species in the area. You do manage to gather a nice little pile of kind of natural waste, as it were, and start filling in the hole, kind of getting down on your knees. You really have to get down there to start shoving it. So you go to push a handful of the leaves down into the hole. Go ahead and make a dexterity and athletics check. However, do it at a -2, as you are not suspecting anything in this action.
Two successes.
2 successes. You're quick enough that it doesn't grab your wrist, but not quick enough to avoid what feels like scaly nails rake across your hand as you quickly pull them out. You can feel the tips of the nails touching your hand, which almost reflexively causes you to yank backwards. But in doing so, your hand is scratched, and blood starts to well up in the various finger marks, taking 2 superficial damage as well as you withdraw your hand quickly from the hole.
Awesome. I don't want to. Do I see anything in the hole with my normal eyes?
No.
Okay. I am going to assume I know what that was and not open myself up to that side right now. But I will sprinkle some burnt rosemary into that hole as well.
So as you take the burnt rosemary and kind of sprinkle it in, you hear a sharp sizzling sound as it descends into the hole, and you can see a little bit of smoke come up as some of the debris that you've put down there, some of the leaves you've shoved down there, start to catch just a little bit. Not enough. You know it's not going to break into a wildfire, but obviously the dried, brittle material coming in contact with even embers is going to cause it to burn up a little bit. But eventually the smoke kind of dies off and settles. Are you going to continue shoving more of the debris into the hole?
No, I'll let nature take the rest of it.
Okay. You kind of flex your hand almost instinctively with the claw marks. They're very, very tiny, almost like scalpels that raked themselves across your fingers and your hand. But you start making your way back towards the gate, kind of checking in with the scout leader. It seems like most of the scouts are off, still away, kind of scattered amongst the gardens and the cemetery. Roll me a wits and awareness.
Okay. I'm going to spend a willpower. Alright, that's respectable. 3 successes.
Almost out of earshot, you hear a young, startled scream from deep within the cemetery.
I'm gonna run.
Taking off at a full sprint, you run your way through the cemetery, trying to dodge past gravestones and markers. Go ahead and give me a dexterity and athletics as you are running.
Can do. That's 5 on a crit.
You run very nimbly, making your way past the obstructions on the ground. And the further you run, letting your instincts carry you, going in almost a dead shot towards the voice, the scream, the cry, you find yourself running for a while. Further than you thought you'd have to run, but you know that this scream was quite some distance away. And as you are getting closer and closer to where you think the source of the sound is, the tree comes into view. As you approach, getting closer and closer, you see a sunken-in hole in the ground. You see an empty grave. Looks like it was freshly dug, maybe not a day prior, probably preparing for a funeral over the weekend. And as you approach the grave, looking over the sharp incline of where it was carved out, you see one of the Boy Scouts kind of at the bottom of the grave, covered in dirt. You could see the bag that he had collected trash in had ripped and spilled all over him. And he's kind of looking up at you. Hey!
Are you alright?
Yeah, that was scary. Can you help me out of here?
Absolutely, bud. Hold on a sec. He'll get down on the ground and reach a hand down to help him up. Okay, so go ahead and give me a strength and athletics as he reaches up and grabs your wrists, and you kind of help lift him out of the 6-foot deep hole in the earth. That's 2.
Okay. So you reach down, you do get a hold. It does take a little bit of effort, but using his feet, he kind of walks his way up the wall and kind of comes out. You can see that he scraped his knee and it's bloody a little bit. His hands are completely covered in dirt. Hey, thanks. I guess I wasn't paying attention where I was going.
Looks like. Is your buddy nearby?
Oh, I kind of just came off on my own.
Did we learn something?
Yes. And you can actually see now, getting him into the light out of the grave, that it is Tommy, the kid that had been called out for making etchings of gravestones earlier. And you can see, looking down into the grave, that there are some ripped up pieces of paper that have chalk etchings on them. You're not going to tell on me, are you?
Did you leave any marks on the graves?
No, I never do.
Okay.
No, it's like we used to do. I mean, we do it in school sometimes. You know, you go do etchings of cool old gravestones and dates.
I got you. All right, let's go get you patched up. I gotta I got to cut too, so we'll go find a first aid kit with your leader.
Yeah, all right. Give me a wits and awareness as you're walking away from the grave.
Another 5 crit.
Looking back towards the papers at the bottom of the grave, the etchings, it looks like it's several etchings in several different colors, but in the fall, several of them had kind of gotten ripped. You swear for a brief moment that the alignment of the papers spells out the word Joseph at the bottom of the grave. But as you look back, there's no way it could be. It's just scattered papers, random letters, but for a moment in your mind, you saw Joseph. You head back towards the van, where it seems the boys are getting together. The Scoutmaster quickly rushes up, seeing you with Tommy, and goes, "Are you okay?" And he kind of looks over the boy, and the boy has ginger hair kind of in curls at the top of his head, freckles all over his face underneath patches of dirt. "Yeah, I'm fine. I tripped and fell, and this nice guy was here to help me." What was he doing?
He was cleaning, going off on his way. He didn't notice that they had a fresh grave, so he slid down into it. He's got a scrape on his knee, but it looks like that's it. Probably should have been walking with a buddy, but...
Tommy, we've talked about this. Because I know. But eventually he goes to the back of the van and gets patched up, and the boys finish up their cleanup and head into the van, and you make your way off, headed home for the night. But that image, that pain in your hand, lingers as you make your way back. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break as the first half of our story comes to a close. When we come back, the pack reassembles as a group once more and heads off to the home of the Tampa Bay Mongols, a local motorcycle club from which they received an invitation of sorts for a meetup. Don't go away. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, and we'll see you soon.
St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaborations with our partnered vendors, Wolfpack Dice, Ember Fox Dice, Dragon Ink Dice, Bear the Bard, Champs Tramps, Penshi Artista, and Chromatic Creations. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpbynight.com. The official theme song for St. Petersburg by Night is Vampire by Faith and Failure. You could find them at faithandfailure.com. You can follow St. Pete by Night on all socials with the hashtag St. Pete by Night. If you wish to support our program, you can do so at coffee.com/St. Pete by Night to help keep the stories rolling.
Welcome back from the break, everyone. In the first half, we saw our various guru kind of have their own midweek encounters, furthering their personal goals and continuing the fight against the worm in Tampa. Here in the second half, we find ourselves outside of the Mongols Motorcycle Club. It is a wide, squat building that is painted black entirely. Every inch of it is completely black. The windows are covered over by large sheets of plywood, which are also painted black, and only a little white lettering across the top that says Mongols MC is the only thing denoting what's within this building. The area around it isn't the most pleasant, isn't the most upkept. Several of the buildings surrounding it have seen better days, but they're still habitable. This is one of the more rougher neighborhoods on the east side of Tampa. You're sitting in Artie's Jeep, which is a beat-up brown, green, blue affair. Artie sits behind the steering wheel, kind of gently running his fingers over the wheel in almost a petting motion. And he pauses and kind of looks over towards the rest of the pack and says, well, this is the place. The guy you're looking for is named Ryder, which I know, not the most unique name when you're running a motorcycle gang, but that's him. He's one of the OGs from the area, one of the few that didn't leave. Didn't leave with the others. Watch your step in there. I haven't been inside, but I've heard some pretty gnarly things. There was a news article last year, saying how dangerous these guys are, to say the very least. And so, yeah, are we sure we want to do this?
We have to.
Okay.
What's the worst that could happen?
Any possible lead we can get.
Okay. You say so. Artie kind of whispers under his breath to the Jeep. And after a moment, the engine just shuts off. No turning of keys. No screwdriver jammed into the ignition. Nothing. Just shuts off. Don't worry, Regina. We'll be back. He pats the steering wheel and opens the door, reaching back to open one of the back doors, which doesn't seem to open on its own unless he pulls it from the outside. Let's go.
I'll climb out, pat Artie on the shoulder. Don't worry, I'll protect you.
Okay.
I will grab Jester on the way in, just kind of have her hold back with me and walk a little slower. Hey.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm going to be looking into your request over the next week and see what I can find out and see what I can get. It's a go, so I'll be looking into that for you. So don't you worry about that.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Give me a call if you need anything.
Absolutely.
You catch up with the rest of the group and make your way around the side of the building, which is also painted completely black. This place is an anomaly compared to the rest of the neighborhood, where they usually have those colors of like tan, like a light brown, or a orange, more kind of Spanish colors or coastal town colors. This place stands out, but it doesn't seem to draw the right kind of attention. It is more a warning to anyone who comes close, but confidently, you guys make your way up to a set of double doors. From within, you can hear the sounds of a Lynyrd Skynyrd song blaring from inside, fading out, being replaced by a Def Leppard anthem that seems to pound out from some sort of source. You pull on one of the wrought iron handles on the door and it swings open smoothly, and the sound assaults you almost from within, as well as the smell of cigar smoke, cigarette smoke, and alcohol, probably beer, stale beer, that seems to have been likely spilled on some surface recently within this establishment. Loud voices kind of come in a cacophony from within, and you can see several figures kind of moving around the smoky innards of the bar, which is dimly lit from a few hazy lamps that seem to hang. There's a long bar over on one side of the room, a hallway that seems to lead to some back rooms, several pool tables. You could see broken cues on the ground nearby, and a couple of guys kind of patting each other on the shoulders. Big, hulking gentlemen with scarred faces and vests, black leather vests with the same Mongols insignia on the back. As the door opens and the light kind of spills in from outside, the voices stop and all kind of look over towards the doorway. One of the kind of bulkier, a man probably of 6'8", something close to 350 pounds. He looks like he was probably in good shape at one time, but he's kind of let himself go as he's got kind of a large pot belly with a t-shirt that's not even cresting his belly button at the bottom, kind of turns and makes his way over. He's wearing leather fingerless gloves on his hands, and he kind of raises his hands and starts popping his knuckles and says, "Think you've come to the wrong place."
No, we're here to see Ryder. And she'll kind of look over to Artie for the card.
Artie kind of fumbles with his jacket pocket and pulls out the business card and quickly with a shaky hand passes it to you. Huh. The man reaches over and grabs the card, looks over it. Right this way. He passes the card back to you and kind of makes his way through the crowd that almost parts instinctually, but you can feel a very predatory gaze coming from all of the individuals here that just kind of stare and watch you all pass. You go into that back hallway leading back to an office at the back of the hall, and the heavier set man kind of stops outside and gives it a quick rap of his knuckles on the wood. And then inside, the man goes, "Yeah?" The man says, "There's some guests here to see you." "Let him in." The man reaches down and grabs the knob of the door, opening it. And as it opens, you see what looks to be kind of like a back storage area. There are large kind of metal cages that are kind of closing in various mechanical parts. Looks like pieces of a motorcycle kind of disassembled, and you can see actually there's a large concrete floor in front of you with a disassembled motorcycle that is kind of being worked on. And sitting behind the motorcycle on a crate is a man who looks to be about 6'3", probably 280 pounds of solid muscle. His hair is kind of done in a clean-shaven mohawk, except it seems to have overgrown a little bit and dangles down the back of his head. His hair is a solid raven black. And from one side, he looks to be completely clean-shaven, his eyebrow kind of notched on one side. But as he kind of looks up and turns to face you, you can see the entire other side of his face is completely burn-scarred. The flesh creased and cracking all across the other side that kind of extends up from his jawline almost up to his eye before circling back to what looks to be the kind of remnants of a completely destroyed ear. He's wearing the same kind of attire as everyone else, the black leather vest, the beaten up, ripped jeans and motorcycle boots. He's got what looks to be a ratchet set in his hand, and he seems to be torquing at one of the wheels, kind of reattaching it to the cycle itself. "We're good, Eddie." And the overweight man just kind of nods and steps out, closes the door. And Ryder sets down the ratchet set and stands up and starts making his way over, kind of studying each of you for a moment. "Cousins." And he holds out his arms.
He'll reach a hand out to shake.
He kind of looks at the hand for a moment and then goes to look like he's going to shake it, but then swats it aside and almost pulls you into a hug. "Come on now. We don't have to do things the way they do them."
Okay. I'm Aspen. And she'll kind of like push herself off.
He lets you go. He doesn't put up any resistance, but you can tell from the strength of the pull that this is a very powerful individual.
I'll step up and give him a hug.
He pulls you into the embrace and gives you a slight squeeze, and it feels like something's about to pop in your back as he kind of embraces you, but then he lets go just before that happens.
I'll rub my back and be like, "Oh, I think that's actually better, thanks. Good to meet you. I'm Jester."
At first he kind of reacts to the name, but then gives like an approving nod. Jester, good to meet you.
My turn. Aiden's gonna run up and give him a hug.
He kind of startles at first at the excitement of the approach, but then just like grabs you into a hug and like gives you a tight squeeze. But there's like a slight raspy chuckle coming from him as he brings you in.
Aiden will let go. I'm Aiden.
Aiden, nice to meet you. Ryder. Then he looks over to Joseph.
Joseph will step forward, give him a hug, and
Say,
then introduce himself as Ash Speaker.
Ash Speaker. I like it. Come in, have a seat. And he walks you over towards what looks to be a folding table that's set out. On the folding table itself, it looks like there are two pistols kind of out on the table, but they're not pointed towards the door. They just seem to be placed there. Looks like they're prepared to be cleaning, as there's a gun cleaning set right next to it. And he kind of goes sitting at the chair with the pistols in front of it and kind of sits down and starts pulling open the cleaning set and starts disassembling the guns. I can't tell you how long I've been waiting for you to get here. Sit down! And he gestures to some folding chairs that are encircling the table.
Have a seat.
Yeah, I'll sit down as well.
Thank you.
Artie, kind of going unnoticed, makes his way over towards the table and sits down. Ryder kind of flits his eyes over towards Artie and then gives him a little uptick of the head and then looks back to the rest of you. When'd you get in?
For me, it was about a year or so ago. There wasn't anybody else here that I could tell.
So you weren't sent?
Called? More like. I felt a calling to come here.
He kind of furrows his brow at that a little bit, but then nods. What about the rest of you?
I was sent, but it's been a while that I've been here, not finding much evidence of others.
Huh. You? Looks to Aspen.
I've been here for a few months.
Then looks to Aiden.
He'll kind of glance over to have like a few months.
Well, you came into one hell of a shit show. I'll tell you that much. But, it's good that you're here. There's a lot of work to do and not a lot of hands to do it anymore. What do you know about the area?
It's a mess. What seems to have been a cairn is completely corrupted.
One of many, I'm afraid. I don't know the rights to get a cairn going, but I tried to hold them off as long as I could. There's just too many.
There's
Yeah.
supposed to be some leech named Mary that drove everybody out before, or almost everybody.
You hear a slight strain of the piece of the gun he's holding at the mention of Mary. And he kind of sets it down to the side, and as he releases it, you can see that what looks to have been the barrel of the gun has now got creases in it from his grip. Yeah, we know her. She's a problem, to say the least, but hopefully not for much longer. Needless to say, the city is infested. How much do you know about the leeches?
Basically nothing.
What she said.
Well, all the horror stories you've read about vampires appear to be true. They walk amongst us acting like people, but they're anything but the walking dead. Servants of the worm and of decay. All they want is to consume everything around them and to extort the unknowing, enslave them. Gets hard to tell sometimes just what they've got their fingers in. You might even know a few. I've been fighting for a very long time. Even after all the others left, even after they said it was a lost cause and fled. I stayed, I fought, because someone has to. I don't think this city is a lost cause. I think it's anything but. I think it's time it was cleansed. What do you think about that?
Definitely needs to be cleaned up. There's a lot of work to do to clean it up and to make it better.
What is your definition of cleanse, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, need to get rid of the leeches, that's for sure. And anything that serves them. There's a lot of innocent people here that don't know what they're dealing with. Even my own guys don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know that when they run in to the police, who controls those police? I've seen so many of my guys go down because of the leeches. And I couldn't get to them in time. But I keep trying. They are a stain, a scourge on this area. Nothing seems to be out of their reach. They have the resources, they have the manpower, they have the fucking government at their beck and call. And every time I get close to them, they always seem not to be there. We can't keep waiting anymore. The longer we wait, the stronger they get. And they've had damn near a decade now to get stronger. When the pandemic happened, I thought I had an opening. I tried to make a move, but I couldn't find them. I need help. We can't stop fighting. We have to root them out, and we have to get rid of them. We have to wake up the cairns, and we have to bring the nation back. If we lose this area, we might as well say goodbye to all of Florida, because nobody's gonna go get past here.
That's a lot of Gaia to lose.
Yeah. And if we start here, if we can set up a stronghold here, we can clean up the rest.
So your goal is to clean all of Florida?
Someone has to.
Okay.
But that's just a start. There are other places like this that the nation just ignores. Maybe we can get them motivated to actually take a stand again, rather than retreating like cowards. That's the call you heard. It was me. I need help.
That's all well and good. That's wonderful. What is your plan?
I have a lead. I think if we start small and work our way up, we can find the head of the snake. But there's a power grid plant just outside of downtown, south side. I think that's as good a place to start as any. They control the power grid. Those little blackouts that you see during the hurricanes, they shouldn't be happening as much as they do. Hurricanes have happened here the entire time this place has existed. How have they not evolved to be able to handle it? Why is the power out for as long as it is? I know there are some leeches holed up there. If we take them out, maybe we can find out who they're connected to and work our way up the chain.
From what we've heard about the leeches is that they're very strong. How do you propose that we take them out? We were told to just avoid leeches.
Avoid them?
Yeah.
There's only one you need to avoid, Mary. The rest are tissue paper. You get your claws out, you get your fangs out, and you get the drop on them, they're gone.
That sounds simple enough.
It is simple enough. If we take them during the day, there's nothing they can do. I can get some of my boys to distract the police, buying us enough time to get in, find out what we need to do, destroy the vermin, and get out. No harm, no foul.
And look for any clues as to where the next step will be.
Yeah.
Will that lead us to the others? How if they're destroyed?
Well, I figure we can question one of them, maybe one of their underlings, if we take them alive. They always have underlings, especially around the places that they sleep. With enough coercion, we can get them to talk.
I mean, if they're in the power grid, we could have already look at their computers and find stuff too. There might be stuff sitting around.
I know this is a lot, but it's been too long. I wish I could give you pleasantries and show you around and help you get settled into the city, but the time for that has passed. Action. We need to take action. You help me with my little problem, I will help you with yours. And maybe we can awaken one of the cairns together. If we show them that there is something still happening down here, maybe the nation will respond and send help. Maybe they won't write this place off anymore, and maybe all the losses we've experienced won't be for nothing.
Sending a signal through a cairn, sending a message that way would get a lot more attention than just one of us going. I'm down to learn something new.
I'm in.
I've been itching for a fight.
Good. What are you good at? What's your skills, your talents?
Pretty decent hunter.
Yeah? Got a good nose on you?
Haven't failed me yet. It's got me into a little bit of trouble here and there, but hasn't failed me yet.
What's your moon?
Full.
Good. That's two of us.
I'm good at talking, telling stories, that sort of thing. But I'm not bad in a fight either.
Oh, one of the singers, huh? There'll be plenty to sing about when we do this. We'll have some stories to tell. You, Ash Speaker, I assume you're one of the, spirit talkers?
Yeah, I'm a crescent.
Good.
Decent with a bow.
Good to know. We're gonna need you. Make sure you're nice and safe. What about you, Legs?
Also, quite good at talking, investigating, finding truths.
Good. Sounds like we got a full crew here. Next week, I'll send you details. Where do you want to be found? I saw you by the old crone's house. That's a lost cause, that one there. And I don't say that lightly. We've tried. She doesn't want this anymore. Shame, too. Could use her.
Guess you can drop information off at the shop, Dysfunctional Grace. I do readings there. I'll be able to find it.
He kind of looks over at Artie. You still trolling around your usual haunts? Artie kind of nervously. I can. Okay. Well, listen. I know this isn't necessarily the impressive greeting you were hoping for from the area by coming here. Time was we would hold moots out in the state park, and there would be dozens of us. It was a glory to behold. But I gotta know who I'm walking in with. So you, Aiden.
Yeah.
You up for a scrap?
Always.
Good. He kind of gets up from the chair, walks over to the motorcycle, just picks the motorcycle up, and moves it over to the side of the room, setting it down. Kind of cracks his neck a little bit.
Oh, you mean now?
What better time?
Well, I don't want to break your stuff.
Nothing I can't get more of.
Okay.
You did say always.
I did. I just thought that was what people said during these things.
Joseph, Aspen, and Jester, go ahead and roll me wits and awareness as he kind of gets prepped, pulling off his vest and kind of flexing slightly. Two. Did you get one?
What's the deal with the ones and twos? Is it only when you fail?
No. If you get 2 1s, it's considered a, what's the word for it?
Brutal.
Brutal. Yeah, a brutal outcome. 2 1s are a 1 and a 2 or 2 2s.
Okay, I'm gonna spend another willpower.
Okay.
And it's like 2 1s on a rate on the
It's
rage
got to be on
dice.
the rage dice specifically. It's not one. Yeah, they've got to be both on the rage dice. It's not like
Okay,
in
cool.
Vampire with the... Okay.
Never mind.
Okay.
I got 3.
3 successes. Okay, so Joseph, you're the only one to really pick up on it, but as you're kind of looking, as he's kind of spreading out the area, getting it ready for a little bit of a scrap, a small glint kind of catches your eye, and over in one of the cages, you see part of what looks to be a long silver blade that seems to be tucked into one of the cages. As
Would I recognize that as a younger Garu?
you would have seen them at Moots before. It's
Okay.
probably, they don't all look the same, but the concept is kind of similar. That is most likely a clave, yes.
Yeah, the silver would stick out. Cool.
Yeah. So he moves over and removes his his vest and pulls off his shirt, and you can see that there are several of these scars, including several burn marks on various places of his torso. He looks over at Aiden. 3 hits?
However you want to play this.
All right. And he kind of cracks his neck once more before kind of leaning down, and then as he stands up, he shifts into Krynos form.
As he goes to transform to Krynos, Aiden will look over to Aspen and just kind of give a slight little head nod, and then he'll turn and transform into his Krynos form.
Okay.
Aspen's gonna lean over to Joseph and be like, should we not have like set proper rules before this?
Just did 3 hits.
So the clothes adorning both Aiden and Ryder's form almost seem to evaporate, replaced by thick, sinewy muscle and fur that breaks out across their forms. Claws extend from their fingertips, and their mouths elongate into maws filled with jagged teeth. Ryder in his form seems to look black-furred from head to toe, but the same burn scars still seem to remain, exposing half of his maw, just showing the teeth as if the lips can't close together. The ear on top of his head is also notched very badly and burned over, as he kind of lets out a challenging roar towards Aiden, and then gestures for Aiden to come in.
Aiden returns with a loud roar and lunges towards him, claws out, mouth open.
Okay, go ahead and make a strength and brawl as Ryder comes to meet you in the middle. Okay. 7 and 7. So you guys clash in the center in an explosion of snarls and fur. Your hands almost meeting in the middle in a tense standoff where you seem to just be holding each other at bay, neither one getting any ground before shoving each other back and kind of falling back into a 3-point stance. You can see the snarl on his face almost looks like a grin, especially with the exposed teeth on the one side, and he prepares to lunge again, coming to meet you. Do you want to do another strength and brawl or a dex and athletics?
I'm going to try to do a dex and athletics and try and jump out of the way.
Okay.
Four.
Okay. You take 4 points of superficial damage as you try to leap out of the way. He sinks his claws into the side of you, catching you as you're leaping out of the way, and swings you, throwing you into some of the cages nearby, sending a loud crashing, clattering of machine parts falling off of hooks within the cage and leaving a good indentation in the cage itself as you smash into it. As you're kind of regaining your footing, he comes to lunge at you again, claws out and mouth open wide.
Yeah, he's going to try and catch him this time.
Okay.
That's 8.
Okay, 8 successes. So as he is sprawled out, coming towards you, you manage to duck in underneath and kind of lunge for the center, almost in like a spear or a tackle fashion, taking him in the midsection and driving him backwards down onto the ground. You looming over him, kind of perched over him. You did significantly damage as you see scratches kind of rip open on both sides from where your claws had sunk in.
going to let's see. I'm gonna try and bite down on his neck.
Okay, so going in with the mouth, you try to lunge in with your fangs and to bite down towards his neck. Go ahead and roll another strength and brawl. He is going to try to shove you back off of him.
Can I burn some willpower?
Yeah.
Three.
Okay. So as you kind of go in to bite, you feel his feet kind of raise up into your chest and just shove you back off, sending you flying again back into that cage, now causing the entire cage to just dent in its center point. The sound again of metal and pieces falling off the walls and clattering to the floor. For the rest of you, there doesn't seem to be any noise coming from the other room. In fact, it sounds like the noise in the other room is the sound of the music being turned up to cover the noise coming from the back room here. Okay, so take 2 more points of superficial damage from the cage as you smash into it. Ryder kind of props himself back up to his feet and gets back into like a 3-point stance, kind of waiting for you to engage.
Aiden will stand back up, copying the seat, same 3-point stance, snarl, and lunge for him again, kicking off the back of the cage.
Okay. He will come to meet you in the middle again.
6.
Okay. In a brutal outcome, he thrusts his claws into your chest, lifts you up, and slams you to the ground, doing 2 points of aggravated damage as he smashes you into the floor, sending cracks out through the concrete and blood smattering across the floor. He kind of hulks over you for a minute, his maw open, saliva kind of dripping, and you can see his teeth kind of hovering closer to your throat. But then he kind of and yanks himself back, pulling out the claws from your chest and stepping backward as he slowly shapes back into Hamid form.
While laying there, Aiden will stand up and then revert back to his Hamid form.
You can kind of see him flexing a little bit. There's still blood kind of spattered on his face. Pretty good. Pretty good.
And not bad yourself.
Yeah, I think you'll do all right. You're not going to find a fanger who can come at you that hard unless it's Mary, and if Mary's coming, well, we're all fucked unless we get the drop on her, but that shouldn't be a problem. She likes to hide behind humans and send them in first. Okay. Yeah, I think you'll do. You're welcome here, all of you, whenever you want to come by. We're a family after all. Even if we come from different places, different tribes, we are a people, a nation. Even if the rest of the nation, he kind of says that through gritted teeth, have given up on us, we'll remind them that we're here, still fighting. And next week, we'll send a message to those fucking leeches. And we'll retake what's ours. He kind of walks over to a cabinet and pulls open like a big kind of steel box on the wall and reaches in and kind of grabs a first aid kit and makes his way over and kind of drops it on the floor by Aiden's feet. Patch yourself up. You don't want to bleed all over the place.
Yeah, don't want to ruin your cement. He'll pick it up and start wrapping.
He kind of chuckles at that. Well, you guys
You know
want
what you're
something to
doing,
drink?
I could use a drink.
Yeah, I'll get something. And he makes his way out of the room, closing the door behind him. Now the 4 of you, or 5 of you, are already still sitting at the table, kind of eyes wide at the whole encounter that just occurred. You're on your own in the back room.
Guy hit really hard, guys.
Do you need a hand patching up?
That would be great.
All right. What?
Intelligence and
patch him.
medicine.
Okay, cool. That is 7.
7.
No, I'm sorry, 8 on a crit.
On a crit. Okay, so you can automatically heal 1 aggravated damage. It'll take time over the rest of the night, but he kind of gets out what looks to be a needle and some thread, biodegradable thread, and stitches up some of the gash of the opening. It hurts as the needle pinches in. You've never really experienced anything like this before. You've had wounds, but most of them, heal up on their own or scab over. But this, he's actually using some medicine on you at this point, and that's probably a first for you.
I would have chewed up some herbs and put it in under the bandage as well.
Ashbeaker, you're causing more pain than actually
a little pain
helping.
now, less pain later. It's okay. It's how medicine works.
Yep, that makes no sense.
It's how human medicine works.
Can't we just like lick it better or something?
Doesn't licking hurt?
Well, less than this. This is more stabbing.
Yes, it holds it shut. It holds it shut for you.
If it busts open, I'm going to be very upset with you.
I'll be very upset with me too. You'll be all right.
He'll grit his teeth while being sewn back up.
Artie kind of looks over at Aspen, who's been quiet a majority of this time. Kind of gives an inquisitive gaze.
Okay. Is it just me, or okay, I didn't know leeches, vampires, whatever, existed a couple weeks ago. And now we're going to kill? And we know nothing. We're going in with no real knowledge of what they're like, what we're looking at, what their strengths and weaknesses are. I mean, I could tell you from some Anne Rice books, but that's not going to be really helpful. I don't know how. It just feels like we said yes very quickly.
Didn't he say that they were causing the issues? We're supposed to stop the issues. If they're causing it, we stop them. That stops the issues.
It fits with what I've heard about in cairns about leeches. But my cairns were more rural, more out of the cities, so we didn't deal with them as much, but that's the stories we get from them.
I feel like we have to do something, and I'm getting nowhere. I think things are actually getting worse with Eliza. There was, I think, a spirit there that attacked me.
That spirit attacked me at the graveyard too. The leeches, vampires are absolutely not of Gaia. They're some way corrupted by something, and that's our job, is to root out corruption.
I completely understand that. That's not what I'm arguing here. I'm not arguing that we shouldn't do it. I'm arguing the fact that we shouldn't do it without knowing what we're getting ourselves into.
Well, that's what, when he comes back, we'll see what details we can get on their specifics. On what, besides claws, we'll work on them.
Seems... So, he's from a particular tribe known as the Red Talons. They're known for being a little more action first conversation later type group. I kind of agree with Aspen on this. It seems a little eager, to say the least, but I mean, I can try to find out some stuff, try to see the commonalities between the stories and see if we can find out something that way. From what I've gathered, sunlight works. That's a commonality, as well as fire. Some of the stories say that silver works, but kind of a little difficult for us to deal with as well. I know garlic's a thing, but that feels like an old wives' tale to me, to be honest. I mean, it stinks, but like, who's got real issues with garlic?
Well, sometimes it really stinks, at least for me, depending on what form I'm in. Maybe they have better sense of smell?
Maybe.
Well, technically, don't we have a week to actually come decide? So can we spend this time figuring out if we want to do this? I guess we don't have to agree right now if there's reasons why we shouldn't. The two dots were saying do this, so that's why I said yes.
I don't know, it just feels sudden. I mean, we don't have a lot of us. We don't even have a cairn.
Also, what's the end goal? We go in there, we rip a bunch of these leeches apart, and then what? And then what's happening? And then we keep doing that until it's safe enough to open the cairn?
We can't open a cairn until we get rid of some of the corruption here. We can't just walk into the umbra on that side around what was the cairn is so corrupted and so poisoned that there's no hope of getting anything open until we clear some stuff out. I don't know what else. I mean, we can go clean up some trash, but even in that, we get assaulted by spirits from the other side. If what both Eliza and Ryder have said is that this corruption came from the vampires, then that's the line we can take to find it and to get rid of it.
What if we found a cairn further out? Maybe not as close to the city. Maybe something out of town, even a small one. I mean, I feel like we need to have some kind of source to this. I don't know how the spirit thing works, but I feel like, don't we need their blessing or something for that? It just seems like it's really aggressive. Plus, what if they find out we're here? How long until Mary comes?
There's that.
Like, this guy doesn't seem to be thinking about the potential consequences.
Yeah, but he's been here for the whole time. Like, he apparently knows how to hide.
Maybe we need some aggression. Everyone else was driven out. Maybe they weren't aggressive enough.
We're 5. We're 5. From what it sounds like, they either massacred or drove the others out. We are 5. We can't do this by ourselves.
But we are by ourselves.
It doesn't sound like anybody's coming. I mean,
We got Eliza, we got Ryder.
If we did try taking a cairn from the outside, would that be beneficial? Would that help to get somewhat like a strong point to move further in?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but the strongest cairn is at the cemetery, as far as I can tell. That's the hub. There are lesser cairns all throughout the city, smaller ones, but that's the primary source of power. And if you gotta think of it like that's the source and the others are kind of like branches from that source, maybe they're even weaker or completely dead.
And that's where the spirits at the shop pointed us. Not Ryder. he doesn't seem to have the ability to do that kind of stuff. The spirits that spoke to us at the shop, or spoke to me at the shop, pointed me right there. And they reminded me that it was not going to be fun. So they knew what was going on. The other side's calling us to that, Karen.
Aspen, what do you propose?
I think we should try harder with Eliza. I think she could be brought back, but I think just mindlessly going up against things we don't understand just feels out of it feels like a death wish. It feels like suicide. I mean,
with Eliza?
About that. So I've been cleaning up her yard for the past week or so. Like I said, when I was cleaning, I got attacked by a spirit. It wasn't there before, but something's changed. I think something's changed with her too. It's not just an emptiness. I think she's becoming corrupted. I was there the other day, and I saw her in the window, and there was nothing there, but I could feel just the corruption building in that house, and it's lingering.
Maybe she has a bane.
I can't see them. I don't know anything about them. I would love to learn, so I know what I'm fighting, just like with leeches, but yeah, it's not going to be much easier, I don't think.
I mean, if you got attacked by something, I mean, I guarantee the things I saw in the cemetery are absolutely banes. That's what cut me when I was helping clean.
It felt like skeletal hand just gripping my arm and scratching it.
Yeah.
I think, and this is just an opinion, we could try to hold off this Ryder, see if he'll give us more time than a week. We could go to Eliza. We could see if we can make a difference. I have more than all the faith in the world in you, Joseph. We could see what we can do there, see if there's any glimmer of hope within the next week. And if we have to go this other route, during that time, we can get information. We can try and figure out what we're running into without just blind courage.
Where are we going to get that information,
though? I mean, I'm not super versed when it comes to...
I don't trust the humans with their information. Like, that's not where we can get. I mean, Grandma was an exception, but even she was wrong on stuff. So, the people we could ask is one who's possibly corrupted by a bane right now, and the other one who's just eager to kill some leeches because they massacred a city.
I might be able to call some folks from Colorado and see if they can get us some information, just basic information on leeches. Like, some of the people that taught me may be able to know, but I'm not sure if they'll answer.
Yeah, the cell reception at my old cairn is crap.
I mean, if my suggestion isn't, up to par, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully, does anybody have any other ideas?
It's a tough spot. We've got someone who wants nothing to do with us, and another one who wants to, who's actually doing something, albeit misguided maybe, or a little over eager. I think you're right that we should buy time at least, but eventually we're going to have to come to a point where we have to do something. And if Eliza's not going to help us, if she's too far gone, or if she's... And can we even handle a bane, a corruption like that?
I don't know, I feel like I'd rather take out something that the humans actually know about and have written stories about than those kind of spirits. I mean, I've dealt with a ghost or two and some little jagglings, but not. I don't know how potent this thing's going to be. If it's reaching through the Umbra without a host, that's a little scarier to me than, some, Dracula-looking guy.
I couldn't even see it. I can't really fight what I can't see.
I mean, we can step over and fight it on the other side, but I don't know how well that's going to go.
You already said it was bad over there.
I mean, in the cemetery, I didn't look at Eliza's house. But yeah, I think the whole city's going to be bad. I mean, the parts I've seen have been bad. Nothing like the cemetery. That was like hell. Like when you watch Constantine, the Keanu Reeves one, not the comic book one, that scene when he slips over it, that's what the cemetery felt like to me. That should not be. So yeah, I'll take a physical person that I can shove a pool cue through the chest, maybe.
All right, so we'll take the week to learn what we can about leeches and figure out our plan of attack from that point, and we could always still say no if we learn that there's something we don't want to do. And then we still always have option B of going to fight invisible things.
I think we should investigate both.
I'm up for that.
So
And
learn about both.
right, know what we're getting in either way, and buy some time with the big guy out there, maybe another week, just to make sure we're properly prepared.
We should probably tell him now if he's expecting it to be go time in a week and we're stalling. He doesn't seem like the most well-tempered individual.
Well, I could tell him that I'm getting you guys up to speed, and if I'm at where I'm at, and I'm should do okay, as he said, if I get you guys to here, our time, that should get us a window, right? If I'm doing things.
Reasonable approach.
Yeah. And we can back you up on it.
Just tell him I'm a pup. You need to train me.
You are a pup.
With that, the door opens again, and you can hear a bunch of laughter coming from the other room, and he's kind of laughing as well as he comes in with several long-necked bottles of beer and kind of kicks the door closed behind him and walks up to the table and sets them all out before taking one of his own and just popping the top on it. To retaking Tampa and saving Gaia.
I'll take a beer.
Same. Raise it.
Aspen grabs one too.
My first beer.
And he clinks the bottles.
I'll clink it to him.
And with that, we'll bring our story to a close. You spend the night drinking, carousing a little bit. He tells you a few stories of the glory days, of the gatherings that the Garou Nation would have, and how it could be 3-4 day festivals that put things like Lollapalooza and Woodstock to shame, where they could run and fight and celebrate and just enjoy what it was being Garou. But how it's been more than a decade since those days. What are you thinking, each of you individually, as you hop back in Artie's Jeep, dark setting in over the city? Regina taking her sweet time, roaring to life. On the drive back, what's going through your head, Aiden?
How am I gonna find out information about this stuff? How do I know what's real, what's not? I need to converse with someone who might be able to shed light on this. So he's trying to rack through his brain on all these different people, but all the people that he could reach out to, he cannot get a hold of that could help him. So he's trying to figure something out.
So would you say there's a little bit of desperation, a little bit of kind of eagerness, but also kind of a little bit of fear in regards to how you're going to handle this?
Yeah, because he's heard two sides of the same story in a sense. He's heard that leeches are to be avoided. And he's also heard that leeches are tissue paper. So he's trying to figure out where the truth lies in this sense of where do we sit between inevitable doom and tissue paper. Okay. And yeah, there's definitely desperation there.
Jester, what are you thinking about on the drive home?
I thought I was ready when leaving Colorado, but stepping here, I once again feel I've gotten way in over than beyond anything that I knew. I know a little bit, but leeches and banes, I don't know enough about. Hopefully I can contact someone back at the cairn in Colorado, but it's a lot. I'm still willing to fight for it, but it's definitely a huge task.
Ash Speaker, what's going through your mind?
Watching that fight took me back to the time I spent at the cairn and seeing contests of strength and valor, and realizing how lonely it's been being here for a year or so without that, without a hint of the rage, without that action, and seeing it again and remembering the reason he was sent here. He's anxious and he wants to get something done. So it's riled up that in him to do something.
So you're feeling slightly nostalgic, but also kind of a little bit hopeful, maybe?
Not hopeful. Like
determined?
Just determined and focused, but amped. He just wants to get something done. It's been a lot of thinking and a lot of waiting, and now we have a lead, and now we have someone who knows some stuff that's willing to say things, and he wants to get it done.
Aspen, you were the most hesitant, to say the very least, about this entire encounter. What's going through your mind on the drive home?
Well, initial feelings as they get into the car is everyone batshit crazy. It's her initial thoughts. As she kind of ponders over things. She's somebody who just doesn't just jump into things. She analyzes, she thinks and rethinks over everything that could happen and might happen. So just jumping into things is not her forte. So she's trying to think of different ways of getting information, what things they might have to look at. Should she get something for the plant of like a blueprint, those kind of things, but also in the back of the mind, the things that's motivating everything is she did not go through everything she went through to come here and die for a cause just willy-nilly. If she's going to die for this cause, it's going to mean something. It's not going to just because she went in there and jumped in 2 feet into the pool.
So there's definitely some cautious hesitation. This seems direct and sudden and almost too aggressive, would you say, for her liking?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
As the Jeep, takes to the highway, heading back into the city, finding your way home. The night is dark and full of terrors that you have not yet witnessed but are slowly but surely being exposed to. Perhaps it seems scarier than ever before, knowing that these things that you've heard about, you've read stories about, maybe you've seen ridiculous romantic movies about, seem to be even more real than expected. It's a tenuous balance being Guru. You have to fight to save Gaia, but you have to remember what it is to be human as well. And humans are scared. Humans are prone to fear. It's even harder to keep that balance when there is a big thumb pressing on the scale. Thank you so much to these amazing players who've joined us tonight. Preston as Aiden Goodspeed, Champagne as Aspen Weiss, Noree as Malicious Jester, and Simon as Joseph Ash Speaker. Go check them out on social media if you can find them, but definitely come back here next week when we find out what course of action this pack is going to take. If they're able to find out anything to help them in either assaulting the vampires of Tampa or helping persuade Eliza back from the brink of ruin and corruption. My name is Kent, at MishaKent on all social media, but go follow St. Pete by Night on everything. On Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. Go check out SPbN.com where you can see the schedule of upcoming events. This Saturday, we are going to have another After Dark special where we are going to be speaking to Nikki, aka Crafty Mirage, one of our storytellers, about her experiences. If you're not caught up on Rage Across Tampa, you can see the past videos here on Twitch or over on YouTube. Go check those out. Get caught up with the story. Learn about these characters. We're in for a wild ride and a long time to come. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.
This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production. Rage Across Tampa is produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Dark Pact. The storyteller for Rage Across Tampa is MishaKent. Tonight's characters were voiced by Simon, Champagne, Preston, and Noree. Visit our website at stpetbynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become part of our community. Thanks for listening. Until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.